category is Dance or Die. Hello, my children, your father has brought you a swatching video. Did you hear how much the chair creaked? We need a new chair.
You know where we could get a new chair?
IKEA. Mooncat recently released 8 new polishes in varying formulas with their new collection titled Danse Macabre. Or Macabre. This collection seems to take inspiration from a Black Swan vibe, so it's spooky while also classy. And in some of the marketing material, Mooncat said that they're going for their twist on timeless polishes. And as the self-proclaimed spooky cowboy queen, I love to see spookified classic polishes. So today I'm going to be swatching the new collection, comparing them to things in my collection, and testing out a few of them over black. And with the stage set and everybody in their places, let's raise the curtain for these swatches. Up first is the Doppelganger, apparently without the umlaut.
Doppel, not Doppler.
Doppelganger.
It's not
Okay.
Doppler radar.
Doppler radar Gengar. This is described as a dark purple to mauve thermal lacquer filled with pink to purple shimmer. In the cold state, it is a dark purple, and in the warm state, it is a dusty purpley mauve. On the first coat, it was on the thicker side, but that was to be expected as thermal polishes tend to be more viscous. Once my nail fully warmed up, it was very clear that this needed a second coat, which Mooncat recommended. However, once things warmed up again, I saw some thinner patches on the sides of my nail that warranted a third coat. I think this is because the cold state is so much darker and thus more opaque than the warm state, leading to a false sense of completion after the second coat if you're not careful with your application. But this was fixed with the third, and in later off-camera swatches, I paid more attention to the sides of my nail and was able to wear it in 2 coats on the thicker side. As for comparisons, the closest is another Mooncat thermal, Dark Omens. This has a very similar shift, except Doppelganger is a more dusty purple when in the warm state. But they aren't dupes, as Dark Omens is missing the purple shimmer that Doppelganger has. The other comparisons I grabbed because of the purpley color, but Curfew Crasher by Hollow Taco is far too warm, and Cirque's Acai Jelly is closer to Dark Omens in the warm state. So surprisingly, I actually like this one. I don't typically turn to purple, let alone mauve, but this color has been showing up time and time again this year. That's just kind of making me start to like it.
What else is purple?
How many times have I said mauve in YouTube videos? I have not said mauve as many times in my life until I started a YouTube channel. Mauve.
Pop off, sis.
Plus, I really like thermal with shimmer in it because it remains interesting even in my perpetual warm state, as I am the sweatiest woman in show business. So I'm gonna give this 4 buttons you sew into your eyes out of 5.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Next up is Hell Is Other People. This is described as a dark wine linear holographic lacquer filled with purple to pink shimmer. Now the first question I have about this is, why is this the polish that is hell themed when there's a red in this collection? But the second question was the name, as I did not initially connect this to the theme at all. But after some quick googling, this is themed after an existential French play where 3 people's personal hell is to be trapped together for eternity. Hence the line, l'enfer c'est les autres.
My hell is other people.
I literally had written here, next up is my husband's personal hell.
Why didn't you keep that?
I didn't want to out you as being an anthrophobe.
I'm not an anthrophobe, I'm an introvert. I hate children, I don't hate people.
I can't keep that. There's children that watch this. He doesn't hate you. If you're my children, he doesn't hate you. If you're not, kick rocks.
What child I hate? The one that open mouth coughed today while I was walking outside.
Anyways, back to this polish, it has absolutely fantastic coverage. I wouldn't call it a one-coater as there were hints of thin spots on the sides of the nail, but it was perfect in 2. Maybe you could get away with it in 1 coat, but I personally wouldn't. As for comparisons, I grabbed a bunch of hollow purples. The closest is probably Dead Petals by Hollow Taco. If you ignore the drip of polish that fell on my mat when I was trying to load the brush as much as possible to counteract those old skinny brushes, they both both have a very similar warmer purple vibe, however Dead Petals is a touch warmer than Hell Is Other People. However, Hell Is Other People is still not a cool leaning purple as it clearly stands apart from Holo Taco's Violet Nightmares. But beyond the color, none of them have the shimmer in them as well. Honestly, I wasn't really expecting to love this color as much as I do because it kind of felt just like another linear holo to me at first. But the addition of the shimmer really helps this polish stay interesting when the holo is not doing its thing. And the color is such a deep, rich purple that it almost looks like a multi-chrome that's shifting between dark purple and black, making me like it even more. So I think I'm gonna give this 4.75 Janets out of 5. Remember when we watched
The Good Place?
The last episode of that? And then there was another last episode that was like 40 minutes long and we just sobbed the entire time.
Remember when we like sobbed for the entire final season?
That show was
really good.
So good. Like, how do you make philosophy into a sitcom? That's how. Watch The Good Place. Moving on, we have Heart on a Platter. This is described as a deep red linear holographic shimmer lacquer. However, I'm not sure what the shimmer is here because I don't see a shimmer in it. To me, this does look just like a deep red linear holographic. I do notice a slight multi-chrome-like shift as it can go from this red to more of a dark maroon at extreme angles. As for the coverage, it is pretty much the same as the last polish, if not ever so slightly less coverage on the first coat. Like Hell Is Other People, it could work in one coat in a pinch, but I wouldn't recommend one coat here at all. But also like the last one, it looked good in 2 coats. So I mostly grabbed some of the redder holographics in my collection for these comparisons. Ego Stroker 9000 was added since this was a recent Mooncat linear holo, however, it is a very different color.
Ego Stroker 9000.
Do you like how I made sure I said it right? Not Ego Stroker 9000.
If you keep wiggling that chair, it's going to break.
Can I keep that joke in?
No.
If Sabrina Carpenter can say, "Tears running down my thighs" on public radio, I should be able to keep this line in.
Is that on public radio?
Can you listen to it in public for free?
I don't know.
Yes. But ultimately, all of my comparisons are pretty different reds. I didn't include Holo Taco's bright red linear holo as it was too light of a tone to make sense in this lineup. A closer comparison was my dark red linear holo from Holo Taco, but it is too cool leaning to be identical. That's why I ultimately decided to include the Arsonist, as even though it's not a linear holo, it has a very similar deep red color. However, Heart on a Platter is slightly cooler, likely due to the blue aspect of the rainbow effect combining with the base color. This is another one that I like, but I'm not certain how often I'm going to turn to it as it's lacking something when the holo isn't activated. But I do think that it's a really good example of what Mooncat's trying to do with this collection of interesting takes on classics. As this polish feels like that traditional 1950s red polish, just brought to the modern day in a linear holo formula. So I think I'm gonna give this 3.9 Once Upon a Time plot holes out of 5.
I mean, I didn't watch enough.
They take people's hearts and they hold their hearts. I'm trying, okay?
I'm sure that's a wonderful reference, but all I remember was like the first season.
You probably don't actually remember it.
Remember in the sense that I remember watching
Is Snow White there?
It's Jennifer G. Goodwin?
Goodwin.
Jennifer. It's Jennifer.
I don't know what to do with that information. And moving on, we have the Living Doll. This is described as a sheer blush pink lacquer filled with strong blue-violet shimmer. And strong shimmer is right, as it feels more like a blue shimmer topper with a slight pink tint. Cause on the first coat, it has a very similar color to my nails, if you ignore the staining, and just looks like a blue shimmer topper. But when I try this over black later in the video, it's more clear that it's a pink lacquer. Now this is supposed to be a sheer lacquer, so I wasn't expecting full coverage from the start, but it got pretty decent coverage on the second coat. Not enough to fully hide my staining or visible nail line, so I did go in with a third coat, which really surprised me to actually reach what I would call full coverage. As a certified pink hater, this is ironically the best set of comparisons that I've ever shown in a video before. All 3 of these are light pink polishes with a blue shimmer in it. Holo Taco's Cloud 9 has a cyan shimmer, which appears more golden in this swatch. Starly's Somnia is closest, but the Living Doll is more peach toned while still being more desaturated than Cloud 9. So while I'd probably call them near dupes, I am a certified pink hater, painter who is glazing past the minute differences between these polishes, meaning it is a perfectly valid take if you think I'm entirely wrong here. This one surprised me as I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to, although once again I don't think I'm ever going to wear it again. But I think my days of giving pink polishes a comically negative score are over, and I'm evolving as a person. So this is gonna get 2 Annabelles out of 500. So it's a new day in the workroom. I'm feeling fresh and fierce and feisty and ready to take on another challenge this week. Actually, we split up filming into 2 days because life. So next up is Clair De Lune. This is described as a light purple magnetic lacquer that reveals a dusty purple mauve base when magnetized. When painting, it had pretty even coverage in the first coat, but it was a touch thin in some spots. So I painted 2 coats to see the unmagnetized look before magnetizing the last coat. And I really love this unmagnetized as the silver magnetic pigment makes it into a dusty metallic purple, which once again is that dang purpley mauve color that the universe keeps convincing me to start liking. Now with the magnet applied, the silver pigment is pulled inwards and leaves behind the dusty purple base, now slightly darkened in comparison to before. I personally don't love it as much magnetized as I want more beyond the magnetic stripe, but I think this could be a way to fit the theme more, as this is a very classy purple modernized with the magnetic stripe. As for comparisons, I for some reason went on a journey during this segment of filming and was convinced all of it would be relevant. I started with comparing the base color to other dusty purples to show that unmagnetized Clair De Lune is quite bright and slightly pink leaning. Currently, it stands apart from the others I grabbed as the base color is maybe more on the pinker end, potentially looking more lilac in comparison. I then re-wet the magnetic polishes in the lineup with Tyler's Trinkets Magnetic Elixir before applying a magnet, which did not make Cirque's Clairvoyant any more similar, as besides it being a purple polish with a silver magnetic stripe, it's entirely different. But then I removed the sticker and decided to play a little song with the Swatch sticks, which led me to grabbing a more informative comparison of Quicksand's Embrace and Fields of Lavender, both by Mooncat. While they don't have identical base colors, Quicksand's Embrace is close except a dusty blush instead of a dusty purple, and Fields of Lavender is far darker but is still in that dusty purple direction. Honestly, I think I grabbed these 3 because they would make an amazing Skittle Mani, if only I was patient enough for magnetic polishes. So I think I like this one, but more in the unmagnetized state because I really love this silvery metallic mauve color. Now, I personally find it less interesting when magnetized, but I see the appeal as it does look very classy. As always with magnetic polishes, the husband is showing off the velvet magnetic effect. I actually like this more velvet than cat eye, as the silver flash makes the entire nail interesting. However, I think this shows brushstrokes more than other Mooncat magnetic polishes, likely due to the smaller size of the magnetic particle. Oh yeah! For reference, the name of the polish is Clair De Lune. Got it? So I'm gonna give this 3.5 ducks getting their ears pierced at Claire's out of 5. And moving on, we have Pearl Clutcher. This is described as a pearlescent white shimmer lacquer with subtle shifts through shades of white, light pink, light purple, and green. When painting, the first coat looked really good on camera, but from my perspective at an extreme angle, it looked really bad, as I could see how uneven I painted it, my stained nails, and worst of all, the visible nail line. So I painted a second coat, which made it look even brighter on camera, but once again, when the polish is not head on, I can see all of the same things. So I went in with a third coat and it got even brighter and even more pearlescent head on, but the problem still persisted at extreme angles. I can see thinner segments on the sides of my nails and a clear visible nail line. Head on, it's so freaking stunning and I love it so much, but looking at it from a more extreme viewing angle, like is what you'd see on your nails throughout the day, I don't like how it looks. Which honestly broke my heart because when I first saw the marketing material for this polish, I was so freaking excited. So I was determined to figure out how to fix this issue in case this was due to my overly stained nails. I painted 2 coats of Mooncat's white polish, White Rabbit, and then painted the third coat with Pearl Clutcher. And this is what I wanted it to look like on my nails originally. I think it looks like something you would have gotten from a salon using some kind of powder or something something. I don't know, I don't work with that kind of stuff. Regardless, it looks like an actual pearl on the nail, and when it looks pinkish, it's because of the pearlescent color shift and not because I can see my stained nails. So first I grabbed a bunch of whites for the comparison, but the pearlescent shimmer really makes this a pearl white and not a flat white. I'd honestly call Pearl a more yellowy white, as demonstrated with the character Pearl in Steven Universe. Which is why I grabbed some white pearly things in my collection. I think the closest here is KB Shimmer's You Wish, which I picked up at PBE this year. It has a similar pearly shine, but is more gray leaning and has more texture due to the holographic effect. The others just don't have what I would consider that pearl luster, and thus are not similar. Now, I did also grab some other pearl-like polishes from Mooncat that this reminded me of. Not because of the color, but because they all have that pearly iridescence. So while they are in no way dupes, I bet it would look really pretty to put these together, as they all have similar formulas. This one was really difficult for me to rank because do I rank it low as I didn't love it in 3 coats, or do I rank it high because I found a way to really love it and make this one of my favorite polishes? Using this as a topper over white could be a way for this polish to last longer, and it would be cheaper to replace a white than replace this. However, I would not recommend the white polish that I used, as there are more affordable options out there. I'm gonna struggle to remember this. Okay.
I can't help you.
I know, and I have to do it in one take, and that's why it's so hard. Because I want you to laugh at me. I just crave your approval. So I'm gonna give this 4 bird moms who are teaching their former lover's son how to be strong in the real way out of 5. I brought it back. Speaking of birds, next up we have Requiem for...
Requiem.
Requiem. Requiem.
Requiem.
Requiem.
Well, Requiem.
Rectum.
Rectum of a swan.
No, they have a cloaca. Speaking of birds, next up we have Requiem for a Swan. This is described as a black flaky lacquer filled with translucent flakes and micro holographic glitter. At first I was worried about the coverage, as the black jelly base didn't apply that evenly, but on the second coat it looked pretty dang good, which surprised me, as Mooncat recommended 2 to 3 coats. I also think the inclusion of the translucent flakes is really interesting, as they at first kind of look like silver flakes, but they have even more depth as they can show more flakies underneath. And I think even though these flakes are not described to have a color, they look like a very cool steel gray to me, which stands out in my collection, as the other black jelly flake polishes I own have multicolor iridescent flakes. So while texturally they look similar, Requiem for a Swan is nothing alike. Maybe it looks like the emo cousin of the others in my collection. Oh, where are we going, Titan? Bye. I actually really like how this is the only polish in this collection with texture. I think it helps this polish stand out while also fitting within the theme and the general color palette. Plus the inclusion of the subtle hollow sparkle is a really nice touch. So I'm gonna give this 4 lesbian ballet renditions of Phantom of the Opera out of 5. No one's gonna get that besides us.
A reference that is for
no one besides you.
God, oh my god.
Should we tell them? There was a time that we were in DC and we wanted something to do, so we saw that there was a version of Phantom of the Opera. First of all, when we sat down, remember how violently underdressed we were?
We were literally
we drove into DC.
We were in like shorts and t-shirts.
And there was that person in the full fur coat.
Yes, diva.
The show was actually a ballet, so there was no singing, and then it was also gay. So it was just... It was amazing. It was
an experience.
That is like a core memory for me. Sorry that joke was only for my husband. I love him. What can I say? And last up is the Silent Scream. Titan farting. This is described as a silver magnetic lacquer that reveals a deep black base when magnetized. This polish is actually the reformulation of another Mooncat polish that you will see in the comparisons. When it is unmagnetized, the silver pigment fully takes over, and this feels like a gunmetal metallic that I absolutely love. But I will warn that this gets very streaky, likely because of how much of a difference there is between the black base and the silver pigment. So wrap the tip before you paint the final swipes, unlike what I did here. And magnetized, the silver magnetic pigment is pulled inwards and leaves a stark black background behind. While it is similar to the other magnetic polish in this collection, I think I'm okay with it being flat black, as that contrast is what makes this so interesting. But I will say that the magnetic stripe seems to be more dispersed in comparison to Clair De Lune. I do want to note that this could be due to the different thicknesses of my fingers, showing these slight differences in the magnetic field formed by the magnetic wand. As for comparisons, the closest unmagnetized is my favorite Mooncat polish ever, Outlaw Country. They both have a slight yellow tone, however I think Outlaw Country is slightly more orange when next to each other, but this could be due to it being slightly closer to my warm light source. But also Outlaw Country is less streaky, as it was designed to be worn this way. Now, one comparison to pay attention to is Apparition, which was reformulated into the Silent Scream. I don't know exactly what Mooncat did here, but I think they changed their magnetic pigment to a more warm silver and pack in even more of it, which I'm guessing is a way to make the magnetic effect even more striking. Now, I did also try to re-wet these, but to less success than Clair De Lune, as the unmagnetized section stood out more than before. But I think the closest to what was on my finger is probably Holo Taco's Magnetic Taco over black. This mimicked the aggressive contrast between the magnetic layer and the background that the Silent Scream has. I actually really like this one.
That's it.
Imagine. Bye. That thing over there. The magnetic effect is really cool here, but I like it even more as I'll probably want to wear it unmagnetized as well, or more often. But still, both. That is, if I didn't already have Outlaw Country lined up for my next manicure. I literally put it on the desk waiting for me because I just want to wear it next. So I think this is gonna get 4.2 out of 5. And here is the whole collection all together. I think I really like how these polishes can be arranged into a clear color palette gradient. I feel like that's not something that I've seen that often in recent releases, as it feels like most brands are releasing a color palette with larger jumps between the colors, likely to appeal to a broader audience. And thus, this feels very intentional, and I respect it for that. Pause. Gradient color palette is not the same thing as a color palette. To me, a gradient color palette is they like connect into a clear direction and they're evenly spaced along the color wheel, or at least how we perceive the difference in colors. While a color palette is just colors that look nice together, that fit a vibe. Gradient color palette, we don't get. Now, I did want to try a select few over black, as their first coat indicated potential success as a topper. The Living Doll really surprised me, as I had much higher hopes when it looked like a blue shimmer topper on my first coat. But over black, the pink pigment is more obvious and highlights the uneven application more. Thus, this is not a good topper. The other that intrigued me was Pearl Clutcher, as it's freaking silver over black. The pigment is packed in super evenly, and at extreme angles, it shifts more golden green as opposed to a warm peachy pink. So I like this even more now, and I might move it up to a 4.5 after this. Oh, and Requiem For A Swan is no different. So now that you've seen everything, let me know what you think. Are these shades your principal dancer, or are they just the understudy waiting in the wings? Oh, and quick heads up, we recently turned on channel memberships. So if you're interested in supporting our content, check out the link in the description below. I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here and be honest that I really didn't think anyone was going to want to join, so every time we see someone join, it thrills me to see that there are people who are willing to support this. So I want to wholeheartedly say thank you to the Titan Wranglers, and a special shout out to the members of the Silver Spurs Club. Also, we've been thinking about maybe making a Discord server, so let us know if there's any interest in that. Anyways, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. Car wash Titan.
Like, no, I want to go to the ballet. I'll put on my bow tie and I'm fancy.